Greetings YouTube and welcome to my next weapons build. I have a scrap plate here which is, I think it's 11 gauge if I'm not incorrect. But it has conveniently 2 holes in it. And I have this old tool handle which has actually been salvaged from something else. I don't remember from what else. I don't remember if I did that or it was I purchased it that way. It could have been I could have purchased it that way. So what I'm thinking of doing is cutting it off here so that the plate will end up, you're going to put those in the middle, so the plate's going to end up like that, so that it will just be inside, because I want to get those in the middle, so it's just going to be inside the groove I end up making. And then I will probably, once I have that, I will then probably put an angle on this, once I have the position and everything correct, and I can mark it so that there's a little bit of a kind of like this, but just a little bit more pronounced, just to give the transition between the flat end and that a little bit more aesthetic pleasing. Yeah, because I can come right up to that. The end. This plate will be the end of the cut like that, because that's enough. That's far enough in for the fastening hole that it's not going to cause me issue. And I will be using 1/4 bolts because they're my favorite thing in the world. And I'll probably just be using bolts just out of that jar. I will miss that jar so much when it finally empties, because it has done me well for so long. Years now I've been using that jar. My favorite Peter Pan smooth peanut butter jar, and I'll be refilling that with bolts in the future. I'm keeping that jar. So first thing I need to do is cut that off to make it do what I want it to do, and then I can start working on how I want to go about laying out the split. Because the split's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. Now, I don't know if I want to come in here with a relief hole or not, because the relief hole does also weaken this thing a little bit. I think I may want to do a relief hole, just a smaller than normal one. I usually do 1/4 inch, but do something smaller than that this time. But just make sure I get something that's going to go all the way through, because that gives a nice finish to the end of the cut, and it also means that the split is not going to continue to, it actually won't split and propagate beyond that, because I'm going to have to come in there and cut or something. How I'm going to cut that, I haven't figured that out yet, or we'll work on that, because this is thin enough. One pass with a good saw blade on this end should be the right width, but then I have to get further down. So getting into this section is where it becomes a bit of a pain. But I'll see what I can do. I may get lucky and come up with an idea that I haven't thought of yet. Occasionally that does in fact happen. I have no idea if anybody's interested in this, but we're gonna do a little sawing right here. And this is a Marples, pull to cut clean, a fast, clean, more accurate. Yeah, but I'm not particularly good with saws, so please forgive me if I don't do this flawlessly. so not too bad. Didn't get any split out here, which is what matters. I got a little split out on the part that came off, but who cares? This is, I can make a wedge out of it, I guess, if I really needed to. I have no idea if I use that for anything. Who knows? I might. So that's now ready to get, the next step. I'm not really going to worry about that. I'll just take that off with a utility knife probably. Then I have to start working on figuring out where that relief hole is going to be and setting up something in my drill press so that I can drill a hole straight down as evenly as possible through this shaft, which is oblong. So that's never fun. Alright, so this is how I'm going to drill this. I don't even know what size drill bit this is. It's slightly thicker than the width of the plate I'm using. This is a Miller's Falls Tools V-line vise, and it comes this way. You saw me use it on the cut. I have it here with a wooden block under it to help level it out and help it give it something to clamp onto, because the underside of this is oddly shaped. It's got ribs and stuff. So that prevents me from having to engage with those. And this means I can get a piece in here and clamp it in place, because I don't have that ability to hold something this way and have it not move. Now I have it set up so that this should go all the way through, and I lucked out that just because there's a slight swell here, that's close enough to perpendicular for my needs. Now, so how did I get it centered? I put this steel plate here. I had turned the drill bit upside down, so I just had a solid shaft. I measured it that way, turned it around, used the same edge on this side, measured it that way, and I checked this against an actual square. This is an Empire little square. It's one of my favorites. And I checked it against this, and this is close enough to being square for my needs. So now everything should be set. Only thing I should have to do is turn this on and pray I don't screw up. Yes, I'm all the way through. Now I'm going to release this. We're going to see how it looks. And by gosh and by golly, that by eye, that's in the middle. And that's good enough for my needs. So now I'm going to have to make a split from here to here, or from here to here, because I don't. You see, I have a scroll saw, but there's no way I could put the scroll saw blade in there and then make a split that would be nice and straight and even all the way up. That's not that good, flat out. I'm not even going to pretend I'm that good. So I'm going to have to find a way of coming down through the middle of this and do the same thing all the way down here. But at least now I have a stop, so that the any stress I put on this should only affect the wood from here up. It should not affect the wood from here down, which is awesome. Alrighty, so now let's see if I can figure out how the heck I'm going to cut that slot. So I have some lines laid out, basically giving me where I'm going to cut. I have a line here for a vertical cut, and then this eventually I'm going to be doing a line all the way down there, and that's approximate. It's not perfect. Trying to do a line on a curve like this is not particularly easy. I normally would use this kind of a blade in my Dremel Multivacs. The problem is that this is very, very thin. I mean, that's that's thin, you know what I mean? And that means that if I do that very thing, it doesn't offer a lot of stability because the blade itself can flex on you. And in addition, it means that there's a very thin kerf in the product you've cut. If you have a thin kerf, that means you have to move a lot of material out of the way if you're going to get something that thick, which is like, 4 times the thickness of this thing, out of the way. So I thought to myself, well, maybe I can find something that's wider. So I found this, and this is designed for doing plunge cuts. It's designed for covering, it'll handle wood, it'll handle like mortar between tiles and things like that, which, you get right in there and you just hog it out on get out of the way so you can get the tiles out, things, that kind of thing. And it is much thicker. It's not quite as thick as this, very, very close. But it is going to be oscillating, so there's it's not a perfect laser. And it's more rigid than this is. This is again very flexible. I can literally flex that with my fingers. This is much more rigid, which I really appreciate. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try doing a vertical cut like this. I have no clue if I can pull that off. And then once if I can get in all the way down to that right there, that'll give me like this deep. And then I can start working on coming at it, put this vertically, and then start working my way down. And this right here, because of its length, if I can get all the way through from both sides, will cut all the way through this piece. It'll meet in the middle, and hopefully I can get a slot that will handle that particular plate. At least that's my goal. We're going to see if it happens. And I'm using my Miller's Falls V-line vise here, which is I love this thing so much. It is such a wonderful tool because it is so damn versatile. I am able to hold this thing both vertically and horizontally. When I'm holding it vertically, I want this further to here so I can put this on the inside. That way, if I'm pushing against it, it's hitting these two, and that keeps it stable. But right here, I've got all the stability in the world I need. I will be clamping this down in a moment before I start, just to be on the safe side. But this gives me lots of stability because I have it mounted horizontally, and this is not perfectly vertical, but it's close enough for what I'm doing right now. Yeah, if you have a shop, or even if you don't have a shop, this would be a perfect vise for an apartment. Seriously, if you're doing some very simple light duty crafting, this is awesome. Be aware that it does leave marks in your object that you're clamping it to. There are ridges on the bottom which are designed to bite in, so when you tighten it, this thing won't move. So if you're going to be putting this onto a table that you like, make sure you put something between this and the table that you like. But if you're doing it on a banister, like on a porch or something, this would be perfect. Absolutely. You're never going to have to worry about leaving marks on those things, and it just offers so much versatility. I love this thing. It's beautiful. And I got it for $10. Awesome price. Alrighty, so let's give this a go and see if I can actually cut a slot and not make a horrible mess of everything. So the answer to whether this blade can do what I want to do is no. This cannot cut into hardwood like I wanted it to do. This blade can, however. So what I did was I cut the initial slot with that blade, which was pretty easy. I mean, it's not fast going. This is hardwood, but I was able to I go part way through this side, flip it over, go part way through the other side, until eventually I got myself all the way through. It wasn't perfect. You act as a little bit wider down here than I particularly wanted to. I ended up going slightly off, so that ended up with this little sliver of wood between the two cuts. The one coming from this side, one from coming from that side. But I was able to hog that out with this and use that as a rasp to get in there and open this up. So now it is the correct width for this. It's a nice snug fit. I have gotten this set up so that this is the angle I want for the back section. So the blade's going to sit in like this, like that. So now I have to lay out holes. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to line that up so I get them exactly where I want them to. It's going to kind of a pain in the butt. But line it where I want the holes to be, and then drill 2 holes through this, and and then do the assembly when I figure out which fasteners I want to use. I got to figure out which ones I want to use out of that box, out of that jar. But yeah, so this was good as a rasp, and I'll be keeping that. This was better as a cutter. So this was good at cutting the wood, and in fact I even used this one to cut this piece right here. Right on through there, and it did a nice job. The advantage being that it doesn't put as much wear and tear on my arms, because thanks to 39 years working in manufacturing, I have hands that don't work so well anymore. So being able to hold this is easier than using a saw. So this is going to probably be used more by me than I had in the past, because I didn't realize how useful it would be just for simple wood cuts. So it's faster than grabbing my 4.5 inch circular saw, because the 4.5 inch circular saw really needs a stable place to go, whereas this is completely freeform. As long as I hold the blade the direction I want it to be in, I can cut something. And there's nothing in my way visually. When you're using a circular saw, there's always there's the blade guard, and there's the plate on the bottom, and there's always stuff in the way of your 4.5 inch circular saw, or any circular saw. There's always visually things in your way. Well, this leaves me a nice clear field of view. So this is probably going to end up being used more by me than I had in the past, because now I know how useful it is. So now that I have taken care of this, I need to get that off my floor, because I use a lot of angle grinding, which means I create a lot of sparks. I really don't want fine hardwood sawdust on my floor when I've got sparks flying everywhere. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. So let's get my shop vac out and clean this place up a little, and then I'll go about drilling this out, and then begin the grinding. And the grinding is going to create a bunch of sparks. I don't have to do anything to this other than grind the edge. The edge is like it is right now with the thickness and everything. I'm not changing anything about this plate other than putting an edge on it. So that's going to create quite a few sparks. Yep. Okay, cleanup time. Holes are drilled in this. I'm using 5/16 fasteners because these holes happen to be roughly 5/16. So these will give me the most secure amount of less slop if the object begins to move around. I'm just clamping this to my table. This is a good height for me to work at, so I kind of like grinding at this height. It works well, and I have a metal removing disc in my machine and my grinder first, in my angle grinder, and I'm going to make a few passes on that. When I'm happy with that, then I'll go to a flap wheel, and I'll probably have the flap wheel set up in my vise pointed upward like this in my angle grinder. That way I can just move the piece against the flap wheel. It gives me a lot of control, and I can really hone in on any spots that are thicker or thinner, avoiding the thin ones and concentrating on the thick ones. But initially, I just want to take some of the metal off with my angle grinding, with the metal removing disc. What is this thing? I think I'm using a DeWalt right now. Yeah. What does it do? Tell me the grit on this puppy. Not easily. I don't know what the heck grit is, but I paid 99 cents for it. Normally it was $4. I'm a bargain hunter. So now it's going to do that. Flip it over, do the other side, and then we'll start honing in on the edge. Get it? Honing in on the edge. So we're at the final stage here. I've got the edge grounded. I'm happy. It is a convex edge. I am not a fan of hollow grinds. I will die on the hill that hollow grinds are only appropriate to straight razors. Everything else should be a convex. That's just me. So I actually ended up working on this with quite a bit on my grinding wheel, and then I used my belt sander just because I wanted a lot of control on this one because there's a very slight curve to it. It's not going to affect its functionality anyway, but it is there. So I wanted to really have control, both hands on the part, right in front of me so I could look at the edge. So I used my belt sander. It took me longer than using my flap wheel, but I think I ended up with a better result. And after I got it down to an edge, I set up my little piece of scrap leather here and used it as an impromptu strop and just stropped the blade on both sides until all the little burrs came off. So now it looks quite nice. A heck of a lot better than probably a junkyard style cleaver is going to justify. So now I'm going to put it together. Then I'm probably going to have to cut these off because I think these are going to be too long. They may have a little bit sticking off. We'll find that out. And I'd like to say that these right here, these fasteners right here, came out of, we're going to make a whiz across my shop, and I'll show you what I'm going to look to. See all that? See all that? Those 3 containers? I got all of this. That and those two. There's 2 layers there. The back 12 are 2 layers. I got all of this for $50 at an estate sale, and they had the fasteners in here I need. Now it's not organized yet. I'm going to mount this on my wall, but I just got it like yesterday, so cut me some slack. But yeah, so yeah, awesome. Thousands of fasteners for a dirt cheap price, and I buy fasteners every damn project pretty much. It's kind of annoying. But now I don't have to worry about fasteners for a while. I'll have everything I need for a long time. Unless it's a really, really special thing, and I think I'm all set. This combined, my fasteners combined with some threaded rod, and you can make bolts of any size you want, which is awesome. So, let's assemble this puppy, and then we'll do the final reveal. Here's a completed combat cleaver, which is what I'm going to call this thing. I really like the patina on this. This handle's got some age on it. It's got some history. I got no idea what caused those things, but I like the look of it. The new wood, of course, is exposed, but, you know, can't really do anything about that. I polished off the bolts. I had to, this one was actually pretty good. It was pretty much perfect. And this one I had to cut off with my angle grinder because it came out because the wood is thinner there. Those are 5/16 bolts. I think they're 1.5 inches, but I'm not positive on that one. And I really love the patina on this piece, this plate. That just looks really damn cool. I'm really happy with that. I think that came out really well. Okay, now time to get some stills for this video as well as my Instagram, which reminds me you should be following me on Instagram and DeviantArt. DeviantArt is the permanent home of the stills of my projects. And Instagram is where I post bargains and previews and, you know, salvage things I find, because, you know, you never know when you're going to just stumble upon some salvage someplace. So, oh, shoot, it looks like I nicked the blade. Son of a gun. Oh, live and learn. I'll be taking pictures on this side. But, and of course, I post cute cat pictures on my Instagram, so everyone loves a cute cat picture. So thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope that you come back for the next build.